Alright, so here in number 84 for chapter 1, we're going to be doing a bunch of unit conversions. Alright, so we've got one measured value. We've got 229.8 kilometers per hour, and we're going to be changing the units on that. So we're going to be doing a bunch of conversions. And so for the very first one, we're going to go to miles per hour. But before we start on this, we're going to get 4 significant digits in our measured value that we're starting with. So odds are, we're going to end with 4 sig figs on all our answers. So something to keep in mind as we work through this. Alright, so convert to miles per hour. Now, I looked up the conversion factor between kilometers and miles because I'm changing systems of units here. So within the metric system, I would expect you to know all the conversions. But outside of that, I'll give you all the conversions you need. And so to swap between the two, I'm going to use this. This is not exact, but it'll give me more than 4 digits, so it'll work. Alright, so what do I know? Well, I know this. Alright, so that's what I want to start with. 229.8 kilometers per hour. Alright, and I want to end with miles over hours. Well, I've got kilometers over hours. So I don't need to change the denominator, just the numerator. Alright, and so I want to set this up a little bit carefully here. So I want to cancel kilometers, so that means I want kilometers downstairs. Alright, so 1 km down here. And then, hopefully I left myself enough room for all those digits. That means the miles are up here. So 0.621371 miles. Whew, just fit it in there. Alright. Because Sharpies don't erase. They're forever, because they are the most immortal marker of all time. They still haven't given me anything, even though I shill for them endlessly. Actually, they're not. You know what? I've had enough. If you write on glass with a Sharpie, you can take it off with acetone. I'll just tell you that right now. It's one of the coolest things you'll learn in organic chemistry. You just start labeling everything with Sharpie, and then whoop, you just wipe it right off. So you know what? Give me stuff, Sharpie. If you don't want me to spill the beans, you should have given me stuff. You've had years, and you haven't done anything. Alright, and then we just punch it up on our calculator. So this will be 229.8 times 0.621371. And then we just round, so we only have 4 digits. And so that should come out to be 142.8 miles per hour. And our units are miles per hour because this kilometer cancels with the per kilometer, and that leaves us miles upstairs, hours downstairs, so miles per hour. And that's it. And we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So no zeros, nothing too tricky there. Just keep 4 numbers, right? Alright, now we get to do a little bit more work, okay? So now we're talking about meters per second. So now I have to convert both the top number and the bottom number. So I have to convert both parts of my compound unit. I have to convert time and distance units, okay? So I'm still starting in the same place. 229.8 kilometers per hour. We're still converting the same value here. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to get this into meters, and I need to get this into seconds. So I'm just going to start up here. You could do this in either order. You could convert the hours first or the kilometers first. Doesn't matter. You know, the multiplication is commutative. You can switch the order you do things. You know, 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So don't freak out about that. Alright, so I'm going to work on the kilometers first. Well, how many meters are in a kilometer? Well, there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer by definition. So I go 1,000 meters per 1 kilometer. That cancels my kilometers. That leaves me with meters. Alright, so I'm halfway there. Alright, I've successfully converted my distance unit to the one I want. So that leaves time. Now maybe off the top of your head you know how many seconds are in an hour, but if you don't, you can still work your way through it. So I'll do it in 2 steps. You could do it in 1. Alright, so here's the trick though. Hours are down here, alright? So that means I need an hour unit up here to cancel with it. Alright, so this is per hour, so I need hours per minute. Okay, I'm going to go minutes, and then I'm going to go to seconds. So there's 1 hour for every 60 minutes. And then there's 1 minute. Again, I need to put this unit up here to cancel with the one down here for every 60 seconds. Okay? And that gets me meters on top, and everything else cancels, so seconds on the bottom, and then I just type it in my calculator. So 229.8 times 1,000 divided by 60 divided by 60 again, and that should come out to be 63.83 meters per second. Because again, 1, 2, 3, 4 significant digits. Alright? So that's where we're going with this. Okay. So that brings us to the final conversion that they ask us to do. And you know, if it's the third one of 3, it's probably the longest one to do as well. So now we're going to switch our unit of distance from kilometers to feet, and then we're going to switch our bottom unit to seconds. Now one thing we can do, save ourselves a little bit of work on this, is if we put these two together, you get 1 hour, the minutes would cancel for, 60 times 60 seconds. So this ends up being 1 hour for every 3,600 seconds. We get a conversion factor here by just combining these two terms, alright? If you don't believe me, you can verify it. Alright, so we can set this up, and then we can do it in one step here, because I've only got so much space. We got to get feet out of kilometers. Alright, and the best way to do that is centimeters to inches. So there's going to be some conversions there. Now one cool thing about this conversion factor is it is exact, so we're not limited to 3 sig figs here. We'll still get 4 in the end, because this has essentially an infinite number of significant digits, because for some reason, somehow, in some way, it worked out to be exact. I'm still baffled to this day. Alright, so 229.8 kilometers per hour. Alright, what do we start with? The same thing. We keep converting the same thing. Look at that. Boom, 229.8, 229.8. They're getting some mileage out of that measured value, I'll say that. Alright, and so again, you could convert time first. I'm going to go ahead and work on distance first, though, just because, I don't know, I like to deal with the top unit, then the bottom unit last. Alright, so we need to go to meters. And this one might be a little bit of a wandering journey. But ultimately I want to go to centimeters, so I can go to inches, so I can go to feet, so I can go to miles. Alright, there's gonna be a lot of cars on this train, okay? So that gets me out of kilometers and into meters, because maybe I don't exactly know how many centimeters are in a kilometer off the top of my head, but I should know how many meters are in a kilometer, and then I should be able to know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Alright? And so that way I don't get too mixed up. Alright? So that gets us to centimeters using our knowledge of the metric system. And then I use this conversion factor and I go, okay, well there's 1 inch for every 2.54 centimeters. So that cancels centimeters. And then I don't know how many inches are in a foot. That'd be a crazy number. Alright, wait, no, I do know how many inches are in a foot. I don't know how many inches are in a mile. So I do know how many inches are in a foot. But honestly, I'd probably still give that to you, if I was asking you to do it. So there's 1 foot for every 12 inches. Okay. So now our inches unit cancels. And then you might need to look this one up. Again, I would provide it if it was needed. Oh, no, we're good. I keep thinking I have to go to miles. I already did miles. God. Alright, so that gets me feet. Okay. Whew, I'm actually done with that. Alright. And I have just enough room left here in this line. I can do the time conversion. There's 1 hour for every 3,600 seconds, and that will convert me from hours to per seconds. Man, I keep mixing up the first and third part of this. Alright. So yeah, always pay attention to what you need to convert to. Because otherwise, you won't be wrong, you just won't have the right answer for the question asked. Alright, so 1 hour for every 3,600 seconds. Okay, and then all we have to do is punch it up in our calculator. So 229.8 times 1,000 times 100, then divide that by 2.54, then divide it again by 12, and then divide it again by 3,600, and you come out to 209.4 feet per second. All right, and hopefully that number looks reasonable, because hey, remember how there's about 3 feet in a meter? This is about triple that number. All right, so there's a little bit more than 3 feet in a meter, so it'll be a little bit more than 3 times this number, and that's where we are. So if you got like 2,000, like, there's a problem. All right. So, being able to understand relations between units, just even, roughly, can sometimes help you out with these conversion problems as well. Because, maybe something in here was upside down. Maybe you forgot feet to inches. You can help catch those problems. But anyway, this is just more of that unit conversion stuff, and that will continue on in this course, for all of it. Gen Chem 1, Gen Chem 2, so Chem 151, Chem 152, lecture and lab. You'll be converting units all over the place. And just being able to just, upstairs, downstairs cancellations, can get you a lot of sticky situations. So when you're doing this in my class, I'll give you the conversion factors, but you got to know what to do with them. All right? With the exception of the metric system. You got to know the metric system off the top of your head. All right? So hopefully this kind of helps clarify these a little bit more. And again, we're just taking one value and changing its units. So, I mean, this is the same speed all the way down. Like, this is the same speed as up here. It just has different units. Same speed, different units. And then, last but not least, same speed, different units. All right? So, it's not like one of them, if somebody's going 142.8 miles per hour, it's not going to pass by something going 63.83 meters per second. They're just going to sit side by side. So we just have all these different units of measurements, and so we can express the same value, the same quantity of something, with different units, but it's still the same thing. So hopefully that's all making sense.